Hello and welcome to this video where we will be covering RPE. So RPE is essentially how hard you can gauge yourself working. So the technical term for it is rate of perceived exertion, which means it is a way of measuring physical activity based on the intensity level. So perceived exertion is how hard you feel like your body's working on a scale of 1 to 10. So it can be easy to misconstrue how hard you're working because you are the assessor, but it's just a good way of gauging how hard you're working at the time. So if you can score something out of 1 to 10, it means that you can gauge how much you can either do the next time or pull back on for the next set or whatever. So it's based on physical sensations a person is experiencing during physical activity. For example, increased heart rate, increased respiration or breathing rate, increased sweating, and muscle fatigue. So, why is it important? So, it's a great tool for gauging effort and intensity levels. It's an indicator for how much more you can do and an indicator for weight and reps selection. So, basically, if you are, for example, squatting and you have been asked to do 10 and you've got a weight of I'll just make an example of 30 kilo. So if I was going to ask you to do 10 reps at 30 kilo and you started into your set and then you done the first five and you're like, oh, this is getting quite heavy. And then you got to the sixth and the seventh, you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do any more. And then you put it back in after the seventh. So going off of the RPE scale, I mean, that tells you that the 7 was too heavy because you didn't get to the 10. So that was you reaching your 10 out of 10 on the RPE scale because you couldn't have done any more. So you would know for the next set, if I want you to do 10, then you would probably scale it back to anywhere between 20 and 30 kilos, and then you'll just be right there. So again, it's a good way of measuring. Now, if you're doing any kind of, let's just say any kind of physical activity, the way I do it with my clients is a 1 out of 10, we can have a full blown conversation and it is absolutely no problem whatsoever. They're not even out of breath. A 10 is you cannot talk to me. You physically cannot talk to me because you are that out of breath. So that's where I want you to gauge how hard you're working. So, how much of a conversation can you carry out? Are you responding in one word answers? Are you able to bust out a few sentences here and there? So that'll be a gauge of whether. So 10 cannot talk, cannot say one word because you are gasping that hard for breath, and 1 being carrying out a full blown conversation. So I want you to use that in your own training. All right, so a nice and quick one. So that is us done RPE. I will see you in the next video.